The Gallatin City County Board of Health adopted the new set of emergency rules, this time for Phase 2. I'm Cody Boyer in Gallatin County. How this decision was not met without anger.
As Montana continues to reopen, camping could be this summer's hot ticket item. I'm Dom Tibbetts, and coming up, I'll tell you how the Butte KOA is preparing for just that.
Just ahead of 6:30 here on this Friday. Chet Lehman, Caitlin Corbett, Matt Elwell. It could not only be the hot ticket, it could be a hot weekend of camping, from what you're telling us, Matt.
It certainly could be, and looking at some of the temperatures throughout the area this morning, mainly seeing temperatures into the 40s and 50s, 34 degrees in West Yellowstone. There is a chance that we could see some afternoon thunder showers trying to develop as we go later into the day, but I don't expect to see anything real strong about those, but the temperatures are expected to build pretty quickly. We do have some showers out to the west that are trying to work into the area. A couple of thunder showers developing just to the north of Darby early this morning. Our better potential of thunder showers coming after 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll see a few of those storms linger into the early evening and then die off once we get past sunset. Temperatures expected to be into the low 80s for today. We may have some records at least tied or close to that as we head into the weekend. We'll talk about that, of course, in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. And it looks like we'll have a beautiful weekend ahead of Yellowstone National Park opening its Montana gates for the summer season on Monday, June 1st.
Yeah, up until now, only the gates in Wyoming have been open because Montana's 14-day quarantine for out-of-state visitors, and that remains in effect until the 1st of June, which is Monday. Now, while people flocked to the park during good weather the first few days it was open, crowds were much smaller during the snowy, rainy weather for the Memorial Day weekend. Park says gates will swing open in West Yellowstone, Gardner, Cook City at 10 o'clock on Monday, the 1st of June. There will be increased mitigation efforts, including protective barriers, encouraging the wearing of masks in high-density areas, and there will be metering of visitors in some crowded areas. There is additional signage and boardwalks encouraging social distancing, and visitors are reminded about safety measures as they enter the park on social media. Now, road construction will continue where it was planned. That means there are delays near Fishing Bridge, complete closure of the road over Dunraven Pass.
Governor Steve Bullock says the state will provide additional support for destination communities and small businesses as Montana enters Phase 2 of reopening. The state will provide additional testing and contact tracing in areas that have high numbers of tourists, as well as begin an informational campaign to educate visitors on responsible travel. Beginning June 1st, businesses can apply for additional CARES Act funding through the Montana Business Adaptation Program to help keep staff and customers safe.
If you're going to come to our state, heed state and local restrictions, as well as the guidelines set up by businesses. Engage in the same precautions we do and exercise patience as tourism communities slowly and gradually welcome you back.
Montana this morning will be at the west gate to the park in West Yellowstone Monday morning as local tourism businesses hard hit by the shutdown following the coronavirus pandemic eagerly await the 10 a.m. reopening of the Montana gates. The Gallatin City County Board adopted health and updated local emergency rule, keeping up with the governor's directives for Phase 2, and that decision got some people pretty upset. MTN's Cody Boyer was at that meeting.
The Gallatin City County Board of Health's latest emergency rule locally mirrors Governor Bullock's directives across the state of Montana. However, it was not met without anger, involving several issues, including on that rule, if it's mandatory or not, to wear face masks.
Vote no against the rule, please.
I appreciate it.
Vote no against the rule.
Before the meeting even started, tensions rose when the board moved to follow a policy to keep 10 people inside at a time for social distancing and cycle them out for public comment. The tension crested.
Can you please direct us to any changes from this slide right here that says maximum occupancy 141?
What you're going to do is put us all in a big ball of people because you can't have 10 people swarming around.
When public comment started, the emotions did not stop. Many concerned about the possibility of face coverings becoming a requirement and possible enforcement.
There are other people outside. Please give them an opportunity after they call in.
Right now they can because you won't give up the lectern.
I should not have to be made to wear a mask. I feel like it's against my constitutional rights.
This is a joke. It needs to stop immediately.
There will be people upset no matter what we do on this.
Health Officer Matt Kelly once again fielded the comments after catching us up to speed. According to the rule, on June 1st, group sizes could increase from 10 people to 50 in cases where they couldn't before. But gatherings with parts that are hard to structure, including weddings, still made the list of unsafe.
I don't know how you adequately socially distance a wedding. The character and the nature of a wedding is you bring people together.
Kelly agrees the language is confusing, but says by reading the rule carefully, 2 words make a difference.
It relates to things that say shall in the rule. If it says should, that is permissive language you're allowed.
Kelly says these are guidelines, not law, including the non-mandatory recommendation to wear masks.
This is my best shot at providing some guidance to staff.
In Gallatin County, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
And here's the update for new cases of coronavirus in Montana and the 24-hour update from the State Health Department. 3 of them in Bighorn County, 1 in Yellowstone County. State number totals are 485 with 1 person in the hospital. 23 active cases currently in the Treasure State. More than 1,000 new tests have been completed, and we're getting close to 37,000 total tests completed.
Our Rebound Montana Relief Fund is now at more than $246,000. We told you on Wednesday the total took a big jump with a generous $100,000 donation from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana. The fund is a partnership between the Montana Television Network, AMB West Philanthropies, and the Montana Community Foundation. MTN and AMB West Philanthropies are matching the first $150,000. Any size donation from a lot of us can add up. So if you can, go to KBZK or KXLF.com. There you'll find an easy way to donate, and all of the money goes to help Montanans rebound.
Well, as Montana rolls into prime camping season, MTN's Dom Tibbetts tells us how the KOA in Butte is looking to head what they hope is a bounce-back season.
Like many seasonal and tourism-driven businesses in the mining city, the Butte KOA is reeling from the loss of the Folk Festival and events like Henri Ra that bring in thousands of people looking for a fun and affordable lodging solution. But with Governor Bullock's lift on the mandatory 14-day quarantine for all out-of-state visitors on June 1st, KOA General Manager Chris Jordan is hoping for a surge in business.
We're hoping that we can have a bounce-back season since tourism is such a huge industry in the state that ourselves and this town and most of Montana is pretty dependent on the tourism traffic.
That lift on travel restrictions will allow the KOA to welcome in guests passing through on their way to the national parks, rivers, lakes, and all the great outdoor activities the Treasure State has to offer. And KOA top-level executives are predicting that camping may be this summer's hot ticket item.
Toby O'Rourke, our CEO, put out that 40% of people who had camping trips this summer plan to still do them because they think it's going to be the safest way to get out this summer. And there's a huge increase of people that are looking at camping as, well, my trip to Disney World got canceled or my trip flying overseas got canceled. I can still go camping and get out.
Not to mention, camping at any one of these KOA locations is already a social distancing friendly activity, giving all the more reasons to pack up the kids, the dog, and the RV and hit the road to make some great summer memories.
Camping is naturally, our spots are more than 6 feet apart. Everyone's got their own spot, their own space, and then get out in the sunshine and enjoy our beautiful Montana summers.
In Butte, Dom Tibbetts, MTN News.
Time now 6:37. Checking on your loved ones is important, especially during a pandemic. But for seniors who might not have anyone to check up on them, who's giving them a call?
As we continue to rebound, there are some opportunities to help those who may be having a difficult time coping.
Well, isolation existed long before COVID-19 and unfortunately is going to exist long after.
That's one of the AARP team members of volunteer engagement that created the Friendly Voice program. It's an outreach effort where anyone, not just seniors, can request to have someone call them just to chat. It launched in mid-March just as the pandemic was hitting. Already, they've made 3,000 calls in just 2 months.
Over almost 200 people now that we have an ongoing relationship with that we're calling on a regular basis. That's good news because that means that the program is working. The bad news is that means that people are feeling really isolated and lonely.
The volunteers are trained to keep conversations positive. If they sense something's off, then AARP connects them to other resources.
There are some people that are literally staring at 4 walls. and have been staring at four walls for 2 months. So if the conversation starts to turn negative, what the volunteer voice does is help steer them toward a more friendly and hopeful conversation.
The calls are free. The AARP CommunityConnections.org page has information you need. You can fill out a Friendly Voices call request form or call the phone number. AARP is also offering other resources on that page, like how to find food assistance.
And once again, you can visit that AARP CommunityConnections.org page for more information.
It's nice to have that service out there. It's nice for those of us who can do that for those members of our population as well.
Absolutely. Not too long ago, we had the little robot, remember, that was talking to seniors? So there's a lot of different ways if you're lonely or feeling isolated.
It's scary times too. I understand how that isolation can happen, but we gotta do our part to.
A robot might scare me a little,
no,
but
thanks.
At least you can get a phone call. That's a little bit
I like that idea
more
a lot.
comforting, I think.
I like that a lot.
6:39, up next on Montana This Morning, a partisan battle breaking out in Congress over extension of unemployment benefits. Coming up, the arguments on each side and how workers are likely to be affected. First, though, we have a look at what's coming up later on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, George Floyd's sister will join us with her reaction to the overnight protests across the country, prompted by the death of her brother. We'll also talk with Minnesota's Attorney General about the investigation into George Floyd's death and the destructive protests in Minneapolis. Plus, Trump versus Twitter, the newest escalation in the president's social media war after Twitter responds to the president's overnight tweets on Minneapolis. And we continue to remember those who've lost their lives to the coronavirus. We'll see you at 7.